Hey, what's going on, YouTube? So today I thought we'd talk about the state of the rally garrison meta, in particular when it comes to rallying and defending bastions. Okay, so we're well into our Dragon Zone and our KVK, and we've seen a ton of rally fights this season. Spent a lot of troops defending and attacking bastions. And just to show you how it's going, right, it's not going great for us. You can see Pod here has taken the dragon. Um, and so, barring a massive comeback here, I think Pod and its allies are going to win this season. Quite frankly, it's deserved. Pod has been by far the strongest alliance this season. Now, look, there's some diplomacy shenanigans all throughout the season. I don't want to get into that, but hat tip to Pod. They've played very well. I've always been impressed with their strength, with their field presence. So, want to win the dragon, but thanks to them for some really great fights. Okay, so let's talk about the rally garrison meta right now. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is the least controversial thing. And that's the rally garrison meta is, Kuma and Lake Kwan for the garrison, and then Lake Kwan and Kuma for the rally. And the reason is that, Lake Kwan has the rally tree, so you want to spec him out for that. No big surprise there. Okay, the second thing is a bit more controversial, and what pet should you use? I've seen some people advocating for the Auric Warhound. I've seen some people still using the Moon Bear. You got to use the best pet you can, but everything else being equal, I think you clearly want to use the Moss Rock at this point. All right. In terms of single target DPS, when used as a infantry pet for the rally or the garrison, the Moss Rock performs just as well as the Auric Warhound, just as well as the Moon Bear. No issues there. The second thing is the Moss Rock skills. It gives you that HP bonus. So not only are you getting damage from the pet, but you're also getting a little defense from the pet. And both Lake Kwan and Kuma synergize with that HP bonus effect, so that Moss Rock is giving you some advantage on top of that. The third thing, and I think the most important thing, is the Moss Rock is by far your best swarm protection. Right now in the meta, we'll talk about this a little later on, swarming is more and more common. The Moss Rock gives you protection from swarming the way those others don't. So I think if you have everything built out equally, the Moss Rock is the clear choice in the meta right now. Okay, so they've made some changes to the way the Bastion fight works right now, and those changes are pretty significant when it comes to how you want to approach either rallying or defending the Bastion. Okay, first of all, they've moved back the circle in which you can place friendly cities. It's not a big deal, it makes it a little bit tougher to reinforce, but I don't find it's that major of an issue. Of course, every Bastion is different. Some of them are very easy to reinforce, some of them are very easy to rally. Bottom line is there's no clear advantage in terms of reinforcing the bastion to the attacker or the defender. Every bastion is going to vary. Now, when it comes to the rally garrison fight right now, the attacker has a very big advantage. And there are really two reasons for that. And the first reason we already kind of talked about is that the meta rally garrison pair, Kuma and Lake Kwan has the rally tree and a rally skill. But neither Kuma nor Lake Kwan have the garrison tree or any garrison skills. So first of all, obviously you can't spec out Kuma to be your garrison captain. And secondly, Lake Kwan, when he launches the rally, gets to take advantage of the skill. But if you're defending your bastion with Kuma Lake Kwan, you don't get this skill, right? So, just a slight advantage there. But the fact that there is like the rally leader right now that has the rally tree in the meta, that provides you an advantage as the attacker. But the second reason that the attacker has the advantage, and it's really the big reason now, is the attacker, the rally lead can never die, but the garrison captain can die. And when you combine that with the battle acceleration, which they've increased substantially recently, as the battle goes on longer and longer, the garrison captain is going to die quicker and quicker. So what you have to do as the garrison defender, you need at least two pretty good garrison leads. And what you do is, as the leader, as your good garrison lead gets very low, like less than 10,000 troops, you pull them out, you put the other garrison captain as the leader, you refresh as quick as you can, and you get back in there. So first of all, there's just that gets tougher and tougher as the fight goes on and accelerates more and more. 20 minutes into this fight, as it's accelerated a bunch of times, you might be at red, 30 seconds after you go in with a full march. So you got to do it more and more, okay? So that both increases the chance that someone's going to make a mistake at some point, or you could actually run out of stamina as the garrison captain. So on the other hand, right, the rally leader can literally go forever. You can you can launch the rally and go take a nap, and you're never going to need to sign back on. because your rally lead will last as long as the rally lasts. With those two things in mind, you really have a strong advantage being the attacker right now. Now, of course, every bastion is different. There can be bastions that are in such a strong defensive position that it doesn't really matter. The fact that the attackers have the advantage because it's so difficult to reinforce the rally or what have you. But for bastions that can be truly contested, in which both sides can reinforce it pretty well, the pressure is really more on the defender than the attacker. Okay, so with that in mind, how do you counter that? Well, really, I think what we've learned is you need counter rallies against the rally itself. Now, the rally itself can be counter-rallied by anyone, but you can only have one counter-rally per alliance. And so the very common tactic is you have a warband consisting of 4 alliances. You launch up to 4 counter-rallies against that one rally. Okay. All right. So if we have to counter-rally a, Laquan Kuma rally on our bastion, what's the best thing to do? Well, a very obvious thing would be to do an archer rally. Mag Red Zeta, always a good choice. We have the G4 archers, Fulgrim and Sybil. Sybil herself has the rally tree as well as a rally skill. So those can work okay. I have not tried the G5 archers. You can see I don't really have them built up that much, so I never gave them a try. Interested to see if anyone has these like maxed out with a good artifact and good pet, how well they do. So if you have a report like that, send it my way. I'd love to take a look at it. But in terms of the G3 and G4 archers, we tried those against, the Laquan Kuma. They did okay. They traded negatively, but they do a lot of damage. And what you find is when the counter rally hits, it gets caught up in terms of the battle acceleration. So it's doing a lot of damage very quickly. And the thought is, I'm not trying to trade positively so much as I'm trying to just kill the rally and slow things down so they have to reset it again. And these things can, these archer rallies can accomplish that. Now, obviously, things get very frantic. You're trying, if it's as the defender, you're trying to reinforce not only the bastion, but also the counter rallies. There might be 2, 3, or even 4 of them. The rallies themselves might be getting swarmed, etc. There's a lot of things going on, which can be very confusing, can be very frantic and chaotic. And as the defender, that's kind of a risk you have. Now, look, if a counter rally goes down, it's not a big deal, but you always got to make sure the bastion is topped up as best as you can. And as the battle goes on farther and farther, that bastion will be going down pretty quickly. In terms of mages, there's not really a lot of great options. The G3 mages, right, Thundolin and Thalia, in theory, these are your rally pair, right, because Thalia does have the rally tree as well as a rally skill here. They do okay. They put a decent debuff on the rally itself, so okay, we have tried this and it does okay. It's kind of like along the similar lines as the archers, right? All right, maybe it's going to make the rally itself go down quickly, but it doesn't trade all that amazing. And of course, a mage rally is really vulnerable to being swarmed, so it's all right, but not amazing. The G4 mages, I find, are not great rally, heroes, right? Grimoire itself has the Garrison tree as well as a Garrison skill. And I don't find that like a rally led by them works very well at all, right? So in terms of a mage rally, I do think the best is still the G3 mages, but not that amazing. All right, what about a Cav counter rally? I was really reluctant to try this because, Cav on infantry, that's sort of weakness on strength. Cav is, weak against infantry, so I didn't think this would do well, but I gave it a shot. To my surprise, this did very, very well. It traded extremely positively, better than any of the other counter rallies we've done. A lot of caveats here, though. First, the counter rallies I was using were attacking rallies with single target pets, things like the Moon Bear or the Auric that aren't maximizing counterattacks. So I think that if the rallies I were attacking had the Moss Rock, these rallies would have done worse. So, okay, that's fair. But the positive things is the rally I launched, I didn't have the 2 new heroes maxed out. You can see here Agnar. I still have a lot of work to do on Agnar. In fact, I only got Freya up as high as she could because I sort of spent a lot of universals at the last moment to awaken her to give it a shot. I also don't have the Bullion Beast. I'm working on these guys very well developed yet, so I still need to do a lot of work on that. So what I thought is I'm going to give Freya and Ferondil a try. I'll have Freya as the primary. I'm using the rally tree. I'll show you my rally tree for her in a second. And Ferondil, and I'll use the Berserk Phaedrake with Ferondil just because it should work pretty well here, right? You can see I have a very good Berserk Phaedrake. And what does the Berserk want? It wants you to do debuffs on the enemy, in particular cowardice. I'm like, hey, that should work pretty well. If you look at Freya's third skill here, she will inflict cowardice on the enemy herself every so often. And obviously, Ferandal is going to do that every rage cycle himself. Now, that not only, is going to power my Berserk Phaedrake, but it also makes the rally lose its normal attack damage, right? So the debuffs it puts on the rally are pretty useful. And on top of that, obviously Freya's got the rally skill, and you can slow down the rage speed on the, the Kuma Laquan rally a bit. Now, look, if you have 3 or 4 counter rallies hitting it, it's still going to be making a lot of rage very quickly. But, it is what it is. All right, we'll just glance at one of the battle reports here. This is the battle report from our most recent counter rally. You can see it did very well, and it ended when the rally itself was destroyed. The deaths here are very small because there's no inherent deaths on a counter rally versus a rally. These deaths are just from both sides using bitter end, so not a lot here. In terms of sev wounds, 278,000 versus 626,000. So, about 2.5 to 1 there. In terms of stripping out the splash damage here, the ratios here are 182,000 sev wounds versus 420,000 sev wounds. So very good here, 2.5 to 1 sort of trading. In terms of the statistics, we'll look at this here. You can see they're using a Moon Bear, and the Moon Bear is doing no damage to my counter rally. But my counter rally's pet doing really well. 1 million war pet damage to the rally, which is more than either hero, and basically only slightly less than 2 heroes put together. So the pet here is very important. I do think at the end of the day, if you have a maxed out bullying beast, you're better off with Freya Agnar. But I'll give that a shot. There's at least a case to be made that Ferandal's debuffing the rally is very valuable. So even though Cav attacking infantry is weakness on strength, I think this is the best answer right now. We don't have the full test. They could have a better pet, but I could have a better deputy hero. I could have a better war pet myself. Okay, so to finish off the video, I thought I'd go over the talent tree that I use with Freya. So obviously we start over here. The first thing to remember is that movement speed's not important for a rally or a counter rally. It's going to get there when it gets there. If it gets there 2 seconds later, it's not a big deal. So never waste points in movement speed. Instead, take the defense. And then obviously you take health here. Have to take the foundational talent. Okay, these 3 trees, I want to go to the rally tree. The rally tree is not as good as the garrison tree, but it is still pretty good. So we're going to go up the rally tree. Now, like I said, never take movement speed. So the question is, do we want defense or offense? I want offense. I'm trying to kill the rally with my counter rally. I want offense here. Okay, surround protection, it's okay. Or more normal attack, that's terrible. You don't want normal attack with a cav rally. Or do I want defense penetration? Well, I'm going to be rallying infantry, so defense penetration, that's really good. Let's grab that. Okay, up here, I can either take less damage from enemy rallies. Now look, it is possible to counter rally a counter rally, and that does happen. It doesn't happen a ton here. On the other hand, landslide, that's 3% more damage, provided that I'm over 50% units. That's really good, and it gives me another incentive, another reason to yell at my alliance mates to make sure that they feel the counter rally at all times. Okay, don't want movement speed. Counterattack's not that important. Remember, when you're countering a rally, the rally is attacking the bastion, not your counter rally. So your counter rally never does counterattack to the rallied army, okay? If people swarm your counter rally, they could take counter deck damage. This isn't useless, but it's not that good. On the other hand, rage generation is incredibly powerful for Cav in a long counter rally fight, so I definitely want rage generation. Okay, the next level up, I could mitigate healing and shielding on the target. I don't want that. Laquan Kuma do no shields. They do a bit of healing, but it's not very significant, so this is bad. More surround protection, and I don't care. Skill damage, yes please. 10% skill damage is awesome. Okay, so I only have 2 choices here. I can either take less deads. This is a counter rally. The counter rally doesn't take deads against a rally, and even if I use this as a straight rally, the best way to take less deads is to win the fight, and the best way to do that is to take less damage, so let's take less damage. Okay, the top level, I can either get a 5% damage bonus, which sounds great until you realize it only lasts 10 seconds. I don't want this. I want the thing that'll occur many times over the course of the battle, so I'll get 3% health 30 seconds in. The long-term benefit's good here. Let's take that. Okay, now that the rally tree, I've gotten to the top of it, I don't think the rally tree is good enough to spend all my points in here, so I'm either going to go Cav or Control. And I'm going to go control, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, the first level, you got to take movement speed either side, so just wasted points. What are you going to do? If you go the cav route, you can take some attack, which is okay. You can take some skill damage, which is really good. But sort of these mid-tier talents just don't work for the rally. You can either get a shield as you leave your city. Okay. Or you can get, skill damage 15% for 10 seconds. Remember, it's a long fight. You don't want short buffs. On this side, which I'm going to go, so, you got to take movement speed, no choice there. Like I said, I don't really want counterattack. I don't really want less normal attack. I want to kill the rally, so we'll take overall attack there. Like I said, I love rage generation, so that's what I'm taking. These others, normal attack, that's not good. And then less skill damage, that's okay, but I don't really love that. This slows the enemy for 3 seconds. 3 seconds, and also I don't care at all about slowing a rally, so this is useless. But this is actually surprisingly good. You're never going to get counterattacked by the rally itself, but your counter rally can get swarmed, and it often will get swarmed. And this can make it so that swarming your counter rally just makes it have a faster and faster rage cycle. So I do think this is pretty good, certainly better than the alternatives. And then you've only got 1 point left over. You might as well put in skill damage. All right, and hey, that's all I got for you today. And until next time, you stay classy, Belleron.